What if someone could see the future? And what if the things they saw about Prince Harry left even skeptics stunned? He's been at the center of royal drama, global headlines, and personal reinvention. But now, a new prediction is turning heads and raising alarms. The man making it. They call him the living Nostradamus, and what he says is coming for Prince Harry is unlike anything we've heard before. This isn't just another tabloid twist. This is something deeper and far more mysterious. The man behind the prophecies. He's been called the living Nostradamus not by tabloids, but by believers, news outlets, and conspiracy theorists alike. His real name is Athos Salame, a Brazilian mystic who has gained international attention for his bold, specific, and some claim accurate predictions. Born in 1986 in Brazil, AOS refers to himself as a parapsychologist, someone who works at the intersection of human consciousness and extrasensory perception. Over the past few years, he's become known for eerily precise forecasts about global events, ones that, according to some reports, came true with uncanny accuracy. But who is he really, and why is the world suddenly paying attention? Unlike the original Nostradamus, Michel den Nostradam, a 16th century French astrologer and seer known for his cryptic poetic quatrains, Athos is not vague. His predictions are direct, sometimes naming places, dates, or people. That clarity has made him both a subject of fascination and skepticism. His rise to international attention began around 2020, just before the pandemic shook the world. Athos claims to have foreseen the emergence of a global virus in late 2019, and his followers point to social media posts and interviews where he warned of a biological threat that would spread from East Asia and bring global chaos. It's a claim that's hard to verify completely, but it got people talking. More attention followed in 2022 when Queen Elizabeth Roman II died. Ows had reportedly mentioned her passing months earlier in a 2022 interview. But get this, he didn't just predict her death. He framed it within a sequence of royal family changes that, according to him, would reshape the monarchy. Again, whether this was a lucky guess or insight from some other source is up for debate. But for his followers, it was another data point in a growing list of fulfilled prophecies. Now, Athos doesn't operate out of a hidden cave or a mystical retreat. He posts frequently on Instagram. He gives interviews to Brazilian and international media. And he embraces technology, even referring to himself as a cyberpet. He says his visions come through a process that mixes traditional intuition with what he calls quantum analysis, a murky term, but one he uses to describe how he reads global patterns beyond the visible realm. He's also made predictions about artificial intelligence, world leaders, social upheaval, and even extraterrestrial contact. One of his more high-profile forecasts in 2023 involved warnings about AI surpassing human intelligence in unexpected ways through emotional manipulation and decision-making influence. Whether or not those predictions come true is still to be seen. What sets him apart from other self-proclaimed prophets is how quickly his statements circulate in digital spaces. Some clips of his interviews have gone viral on TikTok and YouTube, where believers dissect his words and track his forecasts. News outlets in Latin America, Europe, and the US have covered him sometimes seriously, sometimes with skepticism. Yet, even critics admit he's compelling. Athos also focuses on individuals in the public eye. He's predicted major life changes for celebrities, political figures, and royals. While some of those predictions seem broad, others, according to his followers, have lined up eerily well with real-world events. His language blends spiritual insight with a kind of analytical tone. He often speaks about vibrational frequency, future timelines, and energy shifts as though he's describing a complex science, the one that only he has the tools to access. Importantly, Athos never claims to be infallible. He says that the future is not fixed but fluid, and that his visions are one possible timeline among many. This gives him some wiggle room, of course, but it also reflects a deeper idea that what he sees are warning signs, not guarantees. Still, when the warnings start sounding specific, like naming a public figure or predicting danger in a particular year, people take notice. And that's why we're here. Among his recent statements is a chilling prediction involving one of the most discussed royals of the 21st century, Prince Harry. A man who has already defied centuries of royal tradition, relocated across the ocean, and taken on the British monarchy itself, Prince Harry's turbulent journey. Once known as the cheeky, rebellious spare to the heir, Prince Harry's life has undergone a radical transformation. One that's unfolded on the world's stage in real time. Born Prince Henry Charles Albert David in 1984, the younger son of King Charles Roman III and the late Princess Diana, Harry was never expected to rule. But from a young age, he captured public affection. He was the spirited royal, the wild card, and often the most relatable face of the monarchy. That perception began to shift in January 2020, when Harry and his wife, Meghan Markle, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, made a stunning announcement. They were stepping back from royal duties. The move, dubbed Mexit by the British tabloids, shook the monarchy to its core. The couple's public statement was direct. They intended to carve out a progressive new role within the institution, splitting their time between the United Kingdom and North America. But behind the wording was a rupture, one that would become more visible and more painful as the months unfolded. Their announcement reportedly blindsided senior members of the royal family. While internal discussions had taken place, the timing and manner of the public release sparked frustration within the palace. Buckingham Palace responded with a brief statement, expressing disappointment, but acknowledging the couple's intention to step back. Within weeks, the Sussexes reached an agreement with the royal family. They would no longer use their Royal Highness titles, cease receiving public funds, and withdraw from official duties. In exchange, they retained their titles as Duke and Duchess and were free to pursue financial independence. Shortly after, Harry and Meghan relocated to Canada and then to Montecito, California, a wealthy enclave northwest of Los Angeles. Their move marked the beginning of a new chapter, but it was anything but peaceful. What followed was a highly public unraveling of the relationship between Harry and the royal institution. In early 2021, the couple gave a bombshell interview to Oprah Winfrey, watched by over 17 million people in the US alone. In it, they described feeling unsupported by the royal family and alleged that there were concerns raised within the institution about the skin color of their unborn child, Archie. The allegations were explosive. Buckingham Palace responded with a carefully worded statement. Recollections may vary, but the issues raised, particularly that of race, are concerning. Prince William later told reporters, "We are very much not a racist family, but the damage was done." The interview fractured public opinion and cemented the couple's identity as outsiders not just physically, but emotionally and institutionally. In subsequent interviews, Harry revealed he had felt trapped in the system and accused his father, now King Charles Roman III, of cutting him off financially and refusing his calls. His relationship with his older brother, Prince William, deteriorated even further. Once famously close, the two have reportedly had little meaningful contact in recent years. Public appearances, such as at the unveiling of a statue of their mother, Princess Diana, have been stiff, strained, and brief. In California, Harry and Meghan have pursued their independence with a mix of commercial and philanthropic ventures. They signed high-profile deals with Netflix and Spotify, started their nonprofit Archwell Foundation, and launched various media projects. But they've also remained in the spotlight for more controversial reasons. Harry has been involved in multiple legal battles against British tabloids, accusing them of phone hacking, privacy breaches, and defamation. In 2023, he made history as the first senior royal in 130 years to take the witness stand in a court case, testifying in a lawsuit against the publisher of the Daily Mirror. He has also sued the UK government over security arrangements. After stepping down as a working royal, Harry lost taxpayer-funded police protection in the UK. He argued that it wasn't safe for his family to visit without proper security, and sought to pay for protection out of pocket. The legal dispute drew criticism from some in the British press and stressed Harry's continued tension with the institution he left behind. Meanwhile, his memoir Spare, published in January 2023, further widened the divide. In it, Harry offered intimate and at times raw details about his mental health struggles, substance abuse, military service, and personal rifts within the family. He recounted physical altercations with William, called Queen Camilla dangerous, and described feelings of abandonment following his mother's death. While Spare became a bestseller, it also polarized readers. Some praised Harry's honesty and vulnerability. Others saw it as a betrayal of the royal family's code of silence. So why is Prince Harry still such a magnet for attention? Because he represents something the monarchy rarely shows: defiance. He walked away from an ancient institution with rules, rituals, and expectations that few can imagine. And he did so in a highly visible, highly disruptive way. To many, he is a symbol of change. Someone willing to challenge the system and speak out about issues like mental health, racism, and personal freedom. To others, he is proof that airing royal grievances in public undermines tradition and unity. Regardless of perspective, Harry remains at the center of a global conversation about power, privilege, identity, and independence. His every move is analyzed. Every gesture at a royal funeral or coronation sparks headlines. Every interview is dissected. His future matters not just to royal watchers, but to millions of people who see a story as a mirror for modern questions about family, loyalty, and truth. And it's that fascination, that intense scrutiny, that makes him such a compelling and vulnerable figure. He's no longer a working royal. He's no longer bound by the palace, but he's still a prince, still a son, still a brother. He is still someone who is trying to define his own story under the heaviest spotlight in the world. And now he's the subject of a new prophecy, one that suggests his journey, far from settling down, may be heading into even more dangerous territory. The psychic's predictions. Athos Salom, the so-called living Nostradamus, has made countless predictions over the years, but few have stirred as much discussion and concern as his recent claims about Prince Harry. In fact, what living Nostradamus predicts for Prince Harry shocks everyone. According to Athos, Prince Harry's near future is shaped by turbulence, transformation. Most importantly, Athos says that he is in danger. These predictions span a timeline from mid-2025 to 2027 and touch on every dimension of Harry's public and private life. His safety, his family, his marriage, and his identity. Sources close to the prince say that he was confused at first, but after talking to Athos himself, he started to panic. Why? Well, let's break them down, each forecast, one by one. The first prediction from AOS centers on a trip to Africa, where Prince Harry is reportedly involved in upcoming humanitarian work. According to the psychic, this mission scheduled for mid-2025 carries a hidden danger. AOS claims he sensed a major disruption surrounding a high-profile event involving aid workers and international media coverage. Though he didn't offer precise details, the implication is serious. Harry's safety may be at risk. Africa holds deep personal significance for Prince Harry. It's where he found solace after the death of his mother, and it's where his relationship with Meghan began. He has supported numerous African-based charities for years, especially in regions like Lesotho, Botswana, and Malawi. His ties to the continent are active and long-standing. Now, Athos's warning does not reference a specific country, but the time frame mid-2025 is clear. He describes an energetic disturbance that could manifest as either a physical threat or a public relations crisis, likely linked to Harry's role as a global humanitarian. The nature of the threat remains ambiguous, but the message is unmissable. Caution is needed. In a very different tone, Athos foresees a deeply personal event for Harry, a reconciliation with his father, King Charles Roman III. The moment is said to take place in early 2026, in the context of a health scare that strikes the monarch. The prediction suggests that the king's illness will act like a catalyst, softening long-standing tensions between father and son. According to the modern-day Nostradamus, the meeting will be entirely private, away from public view and royal protocol. It is described as brief but emotionally charged. This vision doesn't promise a full healing of the royal rift, but it marks a turning point, what Athos calls a crack in the ice. It's a moment of connection between two men who have spent years divided by distance, duty, and disagreement. Interestingly, Athos emphasizes that this event will not be publicized in real time. The world may not know it happened until long afterward through memoirs or anonymous sources, but he insists that the emotional impact on both father and son will be lasting. Perhaps the most scandalous of his claims, however, is this. A former staff member from Harry and Meghan's inner circle is expected to come forward with revelations that could seriously damage Meghan's public image. The psychic doesn't name the individual nor the platform, only that the disclosure comes unexpectedly and creates a storm of media attention. He frames it as a betrayal by someone who was once trusted implicitly. According to the prediction, this revelation is not related to legal wrongdoing, but to private behavior and internal conflicts within the Sussex household. AO suggests the information will be unfiltered, emotionally driven, and polarizing. He doesn't say how Harry will respond, but hints that the fallout will test the couple's unity. Public reaction, Athos claims, will be mixed. Some will see it as a personal attack, others as long overdue transparency. The timing of the leak is predicted to fall between late 2025 and early 2026, just months after the reconciliation moment with King Charles. The psychic says the contrast between those two events, intimate healing versus public scandal, will define a pivotal year in Harry's personal evolution. As Prince Harry's journey continues, AOS foresees a major life decision, the relocation to a third country, neither the UK nor the US. Two locations are mentioned, South Africa and New Zealand. According to Athos, Harry is drawn to these places not for political or strategic reasons, but for healing. He describes the move as temporary but soul-shifting, something similar to a personal sabbatical. This prediction isn't tied to a scandal or crisis. Instead, it's portrayed as a voluntary act of self-discovery. Athos says Harry will seek simplicity, nature, and space from constant scrutiny. The move is said to happen quietly away from the paparazzi and may not involve Meghan or the children full-time. Whether this prediction plays out as a physical relocation or an extended retreat, the living Nostradamus is clear. This period will redefine how Harry sees himself. It's described as a necessary reset, one that helps him step outside the identity of prince, husband, and celebrity, and instead confront who he is alone. The final major prediction concerns another book. Athos claims Prince Harry will write again, this time with a very different tone. Unlike Spare, which focused heavily on conflict, trauma, and blame, the 2027 book will be inward-looking, reflective, and even spiritual. Athos describes it as a reckoning, not a reckoning against. It won't be written to confront his past, but to make peace with it. The book will reportedly draw from Harry's private experiences during his time abroad, potentially connected to the move to a third country, and will explore broader themes like fatherhood, mortality, and forgiveness. Unlike Spare, this follow-up will not feature as many revelations about the royal family. Instead, Athos says it will read more like a journal or a meditation on transformation. It may not grab headlines in the same way Spare did, but it could be the book that reshapes public opinion about who Prince Harry really is. But there is more: the ripple effects. If the predictions about Prince Harry come to pass, especially the warnings of danger, a reconciliation with King Charles, and damaging allegations involving Meghan Markle, the impact won't end with him alone. The ripple effects could spread across the royal family, the media, and even the monarchy itself. First, there's the public. Sympathy for Harry has always been tied to his identity as Princess Diana's son. If he's seen as facing danger, personal betrayal, and emotional upheaval all at once, many will see him not as a rebel, but as a vulnerable figure in a deeply complex situation. The narrative could shift from defiance to resilience. At the same time, increased scrutiny of Meghan Markle is inevitable if damaging revelations come to light. Her public image has already been the subject of polarizing debate. Allegations from a former employee, even if unproven, would likely trigger renewed media attacks and calls for transparency. In a culture driven by headlines, perception matters as much as truth. Fair or not, Meghan could find herself back at the center of a global PR storm. On the other hand, a potential private reconciliation between Harry and King Charles could introduce new tensions and new hope. If it's true that father and son meet again during a time of health concerns, it may lead to questions about Harry's role in the family moving forward. Would he be welcomed back in any capacity? Would other members, particularly Prince William, accept that the monarchy is built on structure and unity, but personal dynamics often interfere with public function? A thaw in the relationship between Harry and his father could either help heal divisions or highlight them further. Public opinion about the monarchy, too, could shift. Younger generations are already more skeptical of royal institutions than older ones. If Harry is seen as someone punished for choosing emotional honesty over tradition, it could deepen that divide. On the other hand, if the royal family is perceived as extending an olive branch, it could soften criticism and reinforce the idea of a more modern, adaptable monarchy. But the long-term question is bigger. What does it mean when someone steps outside the royal system and still commands this much attention, sympathy, and power? Harry is no longer a working royal. Yet his life continues to shape global headlines and challenge how we see the monarchy. The ripple effects of these predicted events won't just affect individuals. They could influence how the world sees the very idea of royalty in the 21st century, not as a symbol of perfection, but as a complex human institution under constant pressure to evolve. Looking ahead, Athos Salim has built his reputation on the eerie alignment of his predictions with global events. Events like the death of Queen Elizabeth II, social upheavals, and technological shifts that, according to his followers, he foresaw long before they happened. Whether coincidence, intuition, or something else, his track record keeps people watching, and now his focus has turned to Prince Harry. Looking ahead, the picture painted by Athos is anything but calm. If even parts of his predictions come true, a security threat in Africa, emotional reconciliation with King Charles Roman III, internal betrayal from a former staffer, Prince Harry's next few years could be his most defining yet. These aren't just speculative developments either. They track closely with existing tensions in his life. His strained royal ties, global activism and status as a symbol of change within and outside of the monarchy, the reconciliation with his father in particular could signal a historic emotional shift within the royal family. If King Charles were to experience serious health issues, a visit or private exchange with Harry would carry immense weight, both personally and symbolically. It might not lead to a formal return to royal duties, but it would redefine Harry's place in the story of the monarchy moving forward. Then there's the predicted move to a third country, perhaps South Africa or New Zealand. While it might seem surprising, it's not unprecedented. Both countries have historical ties to the Commonwealth and have played important roles in the lives of British royals. For Harry, either destination could offer the distance and cultural connection he's often said he values. A move like that wouldn't be just geographical. It would reflect a deeper desire to live outside the shadow of royal legacy and global celebrity while continuing his philanthropic work. And yet, not all the predictions are forward-looking in a hopeful sense. A possible scandal involving a former Sussex employee could reignite global scrutiny, not just on Meghan, but on Harry's judgment and the dynamics of his household. If this happens in parallel with the more personal events as forecasted, Harry would be navigating public crisis and private healing at the same time. That tension is part of what makes his story resonate around the world. But in the middle of all this noise, danger, reconciliation, betrayal, and reinvention, something deeper is happening. Harry is becoming a figure not just of royalty, but of prophecy. Whether he believes in it or not, his life has taken on the shape of a public myth. He is being watched, interpreted, and dissected like a living symbol of modern identity, conflict, and change. So where does that leave us? We're watching a man who stepped away from one of the most powerful institutions on earth, only to find himself more talked about, more analyzed, and more predicted than ever before. And that leads to a final question. If prophecy can shape how we see public figures, are we witnessing the future of Prince Harry, or are we creating it? Let us know what you think in the comments.